Welcome back to WNBA Show. There's a moment in basketball that changes everything. Not the kind you see on the highlight reel, the kind that happens in the margins. And right now in Indiana, that moment is destroying a franchise from the inside out. Brittany Griner extended her elbow into Caitlin Clark's face. That's not conjecture, that's not narrative spin. That's what the tape shows. A 7-foot veteran interior anchor leaning her full body weight into a rookie guard, and the whistle didn't blow. More importantly, her own coach didn't fight back. This isn't just about one play. This is about what that play reveals. And the crack it's exposing in the Fever organization is way deeper than anyone is talking about. Let's start with what actually happened on the floor. The Phoenix Mercury were physical. Griner was setting screens. But when you slow the broadcast down frame by frame, the contact becomes undeniable. Her elbow wasn't passive, it was extended. Her shoulder wasn't stationary, it was leaning. And her momentum wasn't meeting resistance, it was accelerating directly into a smaller player's upper body. This is the kind of contact that gets flagged as a moving screen on a rookie, but gets ignored when a perennial all-star throws it. Just weeks earlier, Caitlin Clark picked up a whistle against Golden State for an offensive screen so subtle that fans had to squint at the replay. The coverage and threat of ejection were immediate, but when Griner delivers an obvious shoulder extension with multiple camera angles proving intent, the referee crew declines to even pause for review. That inconsistency isn't accidental, that's a double standard, and it's being enforced based entirely on player status. Here's what should have happened next. Stephanie White should have stood up. She should have challenged the crew. She should have demanded an explanation. She should have made it clear that her franchise asset wasn't going to be physically punished without accountability. That's what a head coach does when her star player takes contact in the face from a veteran trying to send a message. Instead, all White did was yell at Caitlin to get up. Think about that for a second. A 7-foot player just accelerated into her rookie guard's face. The dead ball is there, the moment is live, and the sideline response is to scream for her to quickly move past it. No challenge, no technical foul, no aggressive stance with the officiating crew, just get up, CC. That directive reveals everything about how this team is being managed. Instead of using that moment to protect her primary asset, White's message was about maintaining pace. Keep moving, don't make a scene. The physical hierarchy has been established, so accept it and play on. The locker room is watching that. The entire league is watching that. When your head coach doesn't protect you, you're not protected. When your organization absorbs physical punishment without response, the message reverberates through every opponent in the league. It says, we're not going to fight back. Do what you want. Now, the coaching staff's lack of response is one problem, but it's not the real problem. Because after the game, Stephanie White went to the podium and blamed social media for creating division. She said if the team keeps responding to fan narratives and online speculation, it becomes a problem. Here's what she got wrong. There is no division created by social media. The division is real, and it's being reported by credible journalists who are pulling information from inside the building. Dan Doege didn't dream up locker room tension. He has sources, and those sources aren't random fan accounts. They're sitting inside the executive offices of the Indiana Fever. Lynn Dunn, Kelly Croft, Amber Cox. These are front office staffers feeding information about internal friction to the media. And Stephanie White's response is to blame the fans. That's not leadership, that's denial. Think about what's actually happening here. The coaching staff is refusing to protect the star player. The front office is simultaneously undermining the coaching staff by leaking stories to the press. And the person at the center of all this chaos is Caitlin Clark, a rookie trying to navigate the physical intensity of the league, while her own organization fights itself instead of fighting for her. The front office executives are doing this strategically. By feeding information about internal division to regional reporters, they're distancing themselves from a coaching staff that appears tactically overwhelmed and culturally disconnected from their most important player. They're building a narrative that says, this isn't a front office problem, this is a coaching staff problem. And Stephanie White is so focused on managing the narrative that she's not managing the actual team. Here's the reality of modern professional basketball. The WNBA just locked in historic media rights. Television ratings are skyrocketing. Corporate partnerships are unprecedented. The league has never been more valuable, but none of that value exists without the stars. Caitlin Clark is one of the driving forces of that economic explosion. She's the reason people are tuning in. She's the reason tickets are selling out. And the Indiana Fever's job is to protect that asset. That's not just a moral obligation. That's a business imperative. When Brittany Griner throws elbows at Clark without consequence, when the referees don't call it, when the coaching staff doesn't fight it, and when the front office sits back and leaks stories instead of addressing it, you're not just mismanaging a team, you're actively damaging the franchise's most valuable property. The physical disparity between a veteran interior player and a first-year perimeter guard is significant. If you don't design defensive schemes to protect your rookie, if you don't challenge aggressive physicality from opponents, and if you don't communicate to your players that you're willing to fight for them, then you're essentially saying, go ahead and wear her down. That's the message that gets sent, not verbally, but through action. And every opponent in the league reads that message clearly. The bigger question is this: how long can a franchise operate like this before the entire organization becomes toxic? You can't have your front office undermining your coaching staff while your coaching staff ignores your star player, while your star player tries to figure out why nobody has her back. That's not a team, that's a dysfunction. The WNBA is experiencing massive growth, but it's also experiencing massive growing pains. For years, the physical style of play was accepted as tradition. Rookies were hazed, veterans established dominance through physicality, elbows flew, screens were borderline illegal, and the assumption was that if you wanted to play in this league, you had to handle it. But that was the old WNBA. This is the new one, the one with massive television contracts, the one with corporate partnerships who care about brand perception, the one with casual fans who are tuning in because they love the basketball, not because they want to watch a rookie get punished for being good. The league is trying to operate with one foot in the past and one foot in the future, and it's creating a mess. The rules are being applied inconsistently. The officiating is being applied inconsistently. The coaching responses are being applied inconsistently. And the result is an environment where nobody knows exactly what's going to be tolerated and what isn't. That uncertainty is dangerous for young players. It's especially dangerous for generational talents who have the eyes of the entire basketball world on them. Caitlin Clark didn't ask for any of this. She came into the league with the expectation that she would face physical defense. Every elite player does. But she also came in with the understanding that the league had evolved, that the rules existed to protect players, that her organization would fight for her, that consistency would be applied. She got none of those things. Instead, she got elbows without consequence, a coach who screams at her to get up instead of getting in the face of the official who missed the call, and a front office that's more interested in managing the media narrative than managing the actual chaos happening on the floor. This is unsustainable, not just for Caitlin Clark, for the entire franchise. When your front office and your coaching staff don't have alignment, when the players can see that leadership is fractured, when the most talented player on your roster is receiving mixed messages about whether you actually have her back, the organization starts to collapse from the inside out. The physical play on the court is a symptom. The real disease is organizational dysfunction, and that dysfunction is being accelerated by a leadership structure that's incapable of having honest internal conversations, so instead they leak stories to the press and blame social media. There's a moment coming where the Fever ownership is going to have to choose. Either they fix this or they watch it get worse. Because the longer Caitlin Clark plays in an environment where she doesn't feel protected, where the physical harassment continues without response, where her own coaching staff appears indifferent to her well-being, the more likely she is to look at what's happening and wonder whether any of this is worth it. That's not me being dramatic. That's organizational reality. The era of forcing young stars to navigate these situations in isolation is over. The era of blaming social media for internal problems is over. The era of pretending that traditional hazing is still acceptable in a league that's trying to scale to mainstream levels is over. The franchises that understand this will adapt. The franchises that don't will get left behind. Right now, the Indiana Fever is somewhere between understanding and denial, and every day that passes, the gap between those two positions gets wider. So here's the question I want you to answer in the comments. Do you think Stephanie White is the problem here, or is she just the most visible casualty of a front office that's actively working against her? Because you can't blame both for the same failure. The physical play from Griner, the lack of officiating response, the sideline indifference, the locker room leaks. Someone has to be responsible. Is it the coaching staff that refuses to draw a line in the sand with the refs? Or is it the front office that's actively undermining team unity by feeding stories to the media? Pick a side. Tell me what you think. And if you're here because you care about the WNBA, about basketball, about watching the game evolve, subscribe to WNBA Show. We break down what's actually happening behind the headlines, not the narratives, the reality. Thanks for watching. See you next time.